you know? It's me jumping in last minute trying to make things work. Apologies, we're a little late. It was not Robert's fault. It was my fault. Technical stuff. Anyone who comes to Wine Wednesday on a usual knows I'm usually a little late. Apologies. Anyhow, happy Wine Wednesday. Trying to catch my breath. I'm sipping on some Chardonnay. Love to hear in the comments what you're sipping on. As we usually talk about seahorses on this channel, we like to bring in other people to share what they're doing. Oh, Tian is on Cupcake. Yes, love that too. Brian from AquaChar just joined us. All right, as soon as I catch my breath here. Point being, we're going to talk today about char chambers. Just a reminder, if you're watching this on the Instagram story, it's going to look weird because of the fact that the ratios. So jump on over to YouTube, search Seahorse Whisperer, and then you'll see the full video because Robert is going to try to show us some things. That's not what I wanted. I'm trying to find a little seahorses here. All right, here we go. There it is. Now our friends are with us again. Wonderful. Okay, so hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much. Is it Chelly? Am I saying that correct? Let me know. And we'll be taking your comments after I quiz these guys about their clownfish breeding. And I believe Robert's even dabbled with some seahorses. And we'll talk a little bit about AquaChar. Actually, let's first, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going 100 miles a minute. First, I wanted to introduce, especially if you're on Instagram, you can't see us. I have Tian here. I have Robert, and it's Robert King's Zombie Clownfish, right? Is that the correct term?
Robert King's Clownfish, but I do have zombies as well.
All right. And we want to hear all about it, and we want to hear about you guys' groups and the site and stuff. And then I have Brian from AquaChar, and I think, you know, we're going to focus mainly on Robert and Tian because they're our special guests. But Brian, would you want to start us out? Tell us what AquaChar is, just briefly.
Yeah. So AquaChar is a carbon biomedia. So the cool thing, let me start off with that. I'm not drinking tonight, but I'm with you tonight. I've got some non-alcoholic sparkling grape juice.
Works for me.
So anyways, so AquaChar is a carbon biomedia. So what we do is we focus on the chemistry to become a biologically active microsite. So we do the adsorption of activated carbon. So a lot of people could add new to the existing if they're looking for that adsorption of AquaChar. But it's meant to be it's meant for the lifespan of your aquarium. You can treat it like live rock. You can rinse. There's a lot of extra benefits with it. I won't get too deep into it, but we're a carbon biomedia. So like I said, we do adsorption, but then we turn it into a biologically active microsite that kind of acts like Uber Eats for your bacteria. So like your ceramics and stuff like that, it's usually based, like they're more dependent on their biofilm to kind of be the stickiness to it. What AquaChar does is it's a larger size. So we basically use we have an electrostatic surface that actually acts like Uber Eats for your bacteria, and it allows for the bacteria to have an aerobic and anaerobic zone to kind of speed up your organic breakdown process. It's meant for long-term use. Usually people would add new to the existing every 3 to 6 months. Once a month during water change, pull it out, shake it off, rinse it off, throw it back in there. And yeah, you can look at the website, aquachar.com. I'll do a quick introduction. I met Robert because a customer had sent him some. He is a clownfish breeder up in New Jersey, and his first he was having some issues with his water quality and everything like that, and he was losing a lot of his hatchlings. I'll let him do his own introduction, but I started joining his live stream. He's very honest with his audience. He was having a rough time. Somebody had sent him some AquaChar. He decided to use it. He talked to me, and I showed him how we were using it with catfish farms in Nigeria and told him how they were kind of putting it on top of the bubbler and everything like that. That sparked the idea for the char chamber because he was having an ammonia spike when the clownfish would morph. So I'll let Robert go ahead, and Tian's his sidekick. She also has a cool story about doing a Rotifer bucket. But yeah, we'll do both of those. I'll let them tell the story.
And before you guys jump in, just to let you know, we have Holly and Cheryl with us also. They're just in the background while we talk at the beginning. But I know Holly has some AquaChar questions for you, Brian, at the end. So any questions asked in the comments,
absolutely.
we will answer towards the end. Please go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me on here. This is pretty cool. As all of you know, all the people that follow me know, I am technologically challenged. I have the most difficult time getting on here and getting everything straightened out. So you can blame me for the late start. That's okay. I'll take the blame. Yeah, well, I met a guy named Ben Wiesner who sent me some AquaChar. He said, "Here, try this stuff out. It's all it's something new. Give it a shot." So I tried it. I put it in my tank, and I immediately, after like 2 days, I saw a difference. I said, "Wow, this stuff is pretty cool." And then I met Brian, and Brian told me the story about the pond in Nigeria, and then he went on to tell me about the orphanage in Uganda, the Rosemary Child Love Orphanage. These orphans were carrying buckets down to the river and getting water that was just really, really polluted. It wasn't drinkable. It wasn't good for livestock or even for growing things. It just.
Oh no, did he freeze up? Oh no. Oh gosh. Okay. Sorry guys, I was grabbing something too. Okay. We're gonna let him continue. Robert, it's showing bad connection. Try jumping out and jumping back in again. I'm gonna message him real quick. Tian, why don't you
Yes.
share a bit about you while we're waiting? Is that
Well,
cool?
she can finish his Robert's story because she.
Okay, please do. Yes, that's right. She's sidekick. I forgot. Go ahead, sidekick.
Absolutely. He had talked to Brian Covey, and Brian had told him about how they were using it to purify the water by drilling a borehole over there, and they for the first time had some pure drinking water. And so that really gave Robert the idea for the char chamber. It's basically like that, like what they did in Uganda for the water, only it's on a smaller scale. He makes two sizes. There's a 7-inch and a 9-inch, and it does have a there's like a sponge type fill. There you go. There's Robert.
Am I in? Okay.
There you go. Take it over, buddy.
I'm back. Okay, I didn't hear what you had to say. I was trying to figure out this Wi-Fi. Anyway, yeah. So these orphans were walking 5 kilometers each way to the river and back to bring back polluted water that needed to be boiled, and they were still getting sick. It was a bad scenario. So Brian told me about the 10-foot piece of 4-inch PVC that they packed full of AquaChar and pumped water up through the bottom of the PVC. And let it come out the top, and it came out clean. So they just let it run like that, and now they have drinkable water, which is incredible. What an advantage for people that were very disadvantaged. They have drinkable water. They turn a tap, and they get a drink of water. They can have livestock.
Amazing.
Also, they grow crops, and it's just incredible. Now I'll show you real quick if I can. I'm going to try. How about that? I don't know if you can see it. That's my char chamber. That's what I designed. And as you can see, there's the bubbles are floating up through the AquaChar, and that keeps it from getting that buildup that Brian was talking about. And if you see this ammonia badge here, it's on safe. Now, when I had that in my quarantine tank. That quarantine tank has been running for 7 months. No water changes. I stopped doing water changes after the first month, and that's it. No more water changes. The water quality is incredible. The fish are they're doing so well. Now I had a hatch like Brian was talking about. I was losing my hatches. I had a clutch of babies, and by day 9, I noticed on the ammonia badge that there was an alert. So I took the char chamber from one of my quarantine tanks, and I put it into the baby tank. And within 1 hour, that the ammonia badge went back to safe and stayed there. I haven't done water changes on any of these tanks in months, and they're doing really well. I'll show you real quick. These are some of the babies. They're doing great. They eat like crazy. They're growing so fast, and I don't find 8 or 10 on the bottom every day. I got some more here. These are my 30-year-old pair on eggs, which is pretty incredible. That's a record. And I have babies all over the place.
That is
I have too
amazing.
many kids now, too many babies. I have some there. I have some up here. This is the first batch that I use the AquaChar on. They're doing really well, except for
That's
they're always hungry. They really require a lot of feeding because they're so hungry all the time. But they're growing like crazy. They're healthy as can be, and I've never seen any of my fish that active or eat that aggressively. They're doing so well, and it's all because of the char chamber.
so.
Char chamber,
We gotta have some more details about the char chamber. Won't ask you to give any trade secrets, but I have some questions about the char chamber. But really quickly, just background, because this is a Seahorse typically channel. We talk about macros, we talk about reefing, we talk about breeding, everything. But why don't you tell us really quickly about your clownfish experience and the cool strains that you currently have and your tribe, really quick, and then we'll go back to char chamber.
Sure. Well, I've been breeding clownfish for a couple of decades now, and I got this pair of wild-caught black Darwins in 1994. And the original pair, I had 2 pair of wild-caught black Darwins. The original pair, the female died. Got a little scratch on her head. 2 days later, she died from infection. The other pair, the female was about to kill the male because he was eating out of turn. So I took that female and put her with the other male. It turns out that the original male had the albino gene, but his female didn't. In the other pair, the female had the albino gene, but her male didn't. So I managed to get those 2 together and create what is known as the black zombie clownfish, which is an albino version of the I don't know if you can see him, albino version of the black Darwin. I can't tell if you can see him or not. All right.
Yeah, we'll put up pictures later. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been doing this. I've been breeding fish for about 48 years now. So yeah, a pretty long time. I love seahorses as well. I did breed Hippocampus erectus, and they were so cool. And I would like to give that a shot again now that I have this char chamber, because one of the biggest problems with seahorses is maintaining that pristine water quality. And maintaining stability, which the char chamber will give you. My pH in this tank is 8.4 on my quarantine tank that I've been running for 7 months now with the char chamber, and no water changes after the first month. I think seahorses, being that they eat so much, and there's a lot of waste, and they require a lot of maintenance, a lot of cleaning. With the char chamber, I'm pretty sure I can accomplish that stability that it takes. So I'm really excited to try seahorses again. I've also bred psychedelic mandarins,
Wow.
blue spot jawfish, Bangai cardinalfish. There's one more. I can't think of what it is.
But you're a breeder is the bottom line. And the picture I just shared, guys, was Robert's fry in a makeshift kessel, which we want to hear about, but we can, or tell me about the makeshift kessel just real quick, and then we'll get back to char chambers, guys, I promise.
There's nothing to really hear. It was a goldfish bowl with a styrofoam, a piece of styrofoam that was cut out in the to fit in the bowl that stayed on top of the water. As I guess everyone knows who breeds these seahorses, you don't want your seahorses at the top gulping air, and that's why you use the Kessel system. So I knew nothing about that, and I gave it a shot, and I tried it, and it worked. So
yep, no, very cool, very cool.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had the air, so that the water would go in a circle.
Well, Ray, who joins us usually every week, would absolutely agree with you. He used jars and that type of structure. Actually, Interestingly enough, Dan of Seahorse Source actually did a bunch of studying and research experiments as he was breeding fry, and realized that the theory of gulping air at the top, actually, he proved it wrong. But that doesn't mean the Kessel system is not great and doesn't work. It does. That's what most people used back then. But just wanted to say that for the record. And the Seahorse Corner is saying she wants to try AquaChar. Real quick, I'm going to share a really good picture that Robert shared with me. This is, so while I'm sharing this picture, Robert, tell us what, like, don't give the secrets away, but tell us, it's a sponge filter with what?
With the sponge filter, it has an air stone incorporated into the filter, and the AquaChar is, it's packed in there really tight so that the air flows over the AquaChar like that. It basically brings all the nutrients up into the AquaChar and feeds the bacteria in the chamber. So
Genius.
it's like a chamber that just, as Brian put it, it's like a $200 filter in a little chamber. It's
Anyone
yeah,
who's, sorry, go ahead, Robert.
there's really not much to say about it. It's just a sponge filter with an air stone and packed full of AquaChar, and it works. It works like a charm.
I keep interrupting you. I apologize. I just wanted to say, for Seahorse keepers, does this not remind you of our makeshift K1 reactors? Because it does me. It's a lot fancier and prettier than my little 1 liter turned upside down bottle, but same concept, just better equipment, better functionality in this actual machine. Go ahead, Robert, with what you were saying.
Yeah, you should have seen my first char chamber. That was a sight. Very rudimentary. It had a piece of plastic tubing glued onto the sponge filter, and it worked. But
well,
this is a little.
Sorry, I always cut people off. I really apologize.
Okay.
No, absolutely. The reason I think it's so cool is, first of all, I know how great AquaChar is. We'll get back into that in a minute. But also, like with my K1 reactor, with K1, the point is to make it move. So the whole point of the air, going through it is to make it tumble. Whereas with AquaChar, this is genius to pack it tight so that the air is actually, and the bubbles are actually, like you said, feeding the bacteria. I just think that's genius. Are these available for purchase?
They are. They're $39 plus $10 shipping. Now I also offer two sizes. One is for a 10-gallon tank, and the other one is up to 20. You saw the two different sizes on the picture. The bigger one, of course, can do up to 20 gallons. And if you need something bigger than that, I'm sure I can make something a custom char chamber if you'd like.
And so where would people, where's the best way to contact you? And I'll put a link in the description when we're done, but what's your preferred method?
On my page, my Robert King's Clownfish page is probably the best place to get me. Just message me, and I'll tell you, where to send the money, and you tell me where to send the char chamber.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. And
so go ahead.
You asked me about my tribe too, and I have to give my tribe a shout out. These people are amazing. When I first started this page back in 2017, Robert King Clownfish, the people that I've met, I had no idea what to expect, and then I met these people, and they turned out to be like really, really awesome, cool people who I am, friends with now. I have so many like true friends. They give me the shirt off their back, and they're just amazing people. Go ahead, Brian.
I want to jump in there and on top of that. So he told a little bit about the Uganda story. His group helped raise almost $900 for trees in Uganda for the orphanage, because they're fruit trees, and they got their nameplate over there with the orphanages. The orphans actually use the water from their borehole, and the time they were using back and forth to get water to grow their own agriculture. So they basically gave them all that money to be able to plant fruit trees to grow in their garden. So anyways, I just want to jump in there on that point.
No, absolutely. And I have a really quick question. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off again. Everybody's like, shut up, Kelly. Robert, so how do you determine the amount? This is something I use AquaChar.
Yeah.
We'll ask Brian when he comes back. I think there's actually a Seahorse Whisperer code where you get a little discount if you order it. Holly's using AquaChar. A lot of Seahorse keepers are using AquaChar, but not with the Char Chamber. And I have a few more questions about that. But how do you determine how much AquaChar to use? Like, how do you determine this is equivalent to a 20-gallon? Is it a science, or you just?
It's pretty much science. Yes, I go by Brian's measurements. You know, a cup is 50 gallons. You know, the bigger char chambers take a little more than a quarter of a cup, and the smaller ones about a fifth of a cup. So I go by that. You know, so the fifth of a cup is 10 gallons. You know, a little more than a quarter cup, it can definitely take care of 20 gallons. Or
Absolutely.
maybe more, because of the way it is, the way it's set up, and the way the air goes through it, and it doesn't get all caked up with the. You know, if you put it in a bag and you put it in your sump, it gets pretty caked up, and you have to rinse it off. You never have to rinse this, but I pack it tight so it doesn't tumble so much and break down so quickly. So it will last you for a really long time. I also sell $10 packs to go with it, which is a cup of AquaChar. That'll last you about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or more.
In the Char Chamber, because I know that AquaChar, as Brian described, there's multiple uses. It acts as a a charcoal equivalent, not charcoal, but equivalent. And then as it gathers bacteria and the bacteria grows on it, it becomes a biomedia too. But the recommendation is to add more. So are you able to do that in the Char Chamber, like replace some and add more in, or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The cap does. The cap. You just twist it and pull it right off. It comes off. Don't do it when it's in the water, because the AquaChar will float out of the container. Ask me how I know. You can ask me how I know.
How do you know? Yes.
Take it out of the tank. Do it in a bucket.
And Makina, I hope I say your names right. If I don't, I'm sorry. Shelly, I saw your comment earlier. What kind of pump do you use for the chamber? It's an air focused machine, correct? It doesn't take a pump. Or do you? Oh, I'm sorry. How silly. They're asking about the air pump. What rate do you suggest?
Well, it's adjustable. You know, I have valves that adjust it. You want it to just to be flowing out of the top. You can see it there. Now it just flows out of the top. It looks like it's pretty aggressive here, but it's really not. It's at a very low setting. The more time the water has with the AquaChar, the better.
Gotcha. And actually, I was trying to come up with this concept. I'm so glad we found someone better to do it, like Robert. But Brian, do you remember when I used the little? Have you guys seen the little in tank? I think it's called an internal filter, but it has the blue sponge on the bottom, and it's enclosed in a thing with the holes on the bottom, and then it has like a I can't think of the name. The little strip. What is it called? Oh gosh. I'm going to find a picture and show you guys. But I stuffed AquaChar in that, and it did work, but because it just didn't work as well. I think the Char Chamber is going to work better. And as Seahorse keepers, we recommend no less than a 30-gallon tank for a pair of Erectus or a pair of Seahorses. So you can make custom models that will hold more, correct? Okay, just want to make that clear. And can you explain the one thing? I watched your live streams in preparation for this. Great job. I love how honest you are and how much you share on your streams. Go check out that channel in the description. Yeah, but Robert, so why, what do you have behind the claim that you didn't have to cycle the tank because of the Char Chamber? Tell me how that works and why, or if you know.
I wish I knew how it works. I don't know, but I do know that, I set up a quarantine tank. It was a 10-gallon standalone tank with no filtration other than the Char Chamber. And the fish had done great the whole time. There was no ammonia. And still to this day, 7 months in, the ammonia badge is reading safe. And the fish are happy and healthy. And I don't understand how that is working. Someone says it's because of all the plant life that I have in that tank, but there's other tanks that have no plant life either, and there's no cycle. I'm gonna test it on my 200-gallon grow out system that I'm setting up now. Just Char Chambers and a protein skimmer, and we're gonna see what happens.
man, it would help people so much if your experiment works. And Brian, what's your thoughts on this? Is it just because the porousness, it's gathering
So what it
bacteria
is
so quickly? Oh no, he froze.
It's the biological diversity. So like when he's saying he's not cycling AquaChar, he's taking a tank and actually moving it over there with the biological side that's been running. The unique thing, like you said earlier about the filter that you made before, because I remember once you bring it up, I remember it. It was I told you it was a good idea, like if we could figure that out and everything like that. What with the air-driven pump and the way Robert specifically has designed his char chambers, what it does is it kind of pushes those large organics that could get through and gives it the oxygen exchange that it's needed to have that bacteria diversity. So your nitrifying bacteria needs a heavy oxygenated zone. And the way he's kind of designed it to go on the filter and being able to adjust it the way he can do it and stuff. It's a good kit. I'm still waiting for mine, but it's a good kit.
Absolutely. I'm so, as
Well,
Brian
he's
said,
well.
we were working on it, but you
I joke.
nailed it.
Well, I joke about that because he gets so many orders. He just doesn't have enough time. He's got so many promises that he wants to send out that he just hasn't had the time to have an extra one for me. So it was all a joke.
Well,
I
I
will
saw
say this, Kelly.
Yeah.
If you read in the comments, Kevin Wisen said he will provide 2 char chambers for you.
I shall take them, Kevin. Thank you. Mwah. And I'm actually working on a breeding pair of seahorses. So as the Seahorse Corner said in the comment section, she wants to try it in her breeding tanks because we do love macros on this channel too, Robert. So I'm going to have to say macros do make a difference, but I believe you, and I will test it myself and come back and let the Seahorse people know how well it works in a breeding seahorse tank, because that could be seriously a game changer. You know, we have Fry. Cheryl, when Cheryl jumps in here in a minute, we've talked endlessly about the fact that we each have a pair of seahorses that we keep thinking is pregnant, and then they're not. And these little poops, keep making us think we're about to have Fry, and then we don't. And with Seahorse Fry, you have to get the Artemia ready 24 hours in advance. You have to have the tank cycled or have K1 seating around. This char chamber, if you could throw a char chamber in a 10-gallon or in a fit whatever gallon and, have Fry safe that first day, oh my gosh, game changer, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so let me go a little bit further. And what's really cool
Please.
about Robert's design is the only maintenance that you really have to do, because he's pushing all of the organics. You're not going to have any. Think about when you have a filter, even a big canister filter, or the hang in the back filter. The worst part about it is you get that buildup of the heavy, thick organics. Yeah. The cool thing with Robert King's char chamber is the fact that because it's bubble driven, it's basically just pulling the stuff that the bacteria want to eat through the sponge. But the most maintenance you have to do every once in a while is pull it out and bring out the actual sponge and put it back in there, just as like a nutrient export type of thing. Mm-hmm. But Robert can go into how heavy of a feeder he is, and even Tian, she can explain her Rotifer bug. I want her to have a chance for that one.
Yeah, we gotta have Tian. I'm saying right. But real quick, Kevin said just remember to run the char chamber in a bucket of water before use. Why?
Just to get out. Yeah, to get the sediment out. I rinse the AquaChar before I put them in the chamber. But as I'm crushing it down in there and packing it real tight, you get more sediment. You want to just blow that out real quick. And also, one quick thing I wanted to say: the airline tubing that goes to the char chamber. I think seahorses would love to wrap their little tail around that and hang on and play in the bubbles. I think
yes. Oh my gosh, I've shown so many videos and pictures of seahorses literally hitched onto covered, of course, powered heads or wave makers with their little bodies flopping. And I posted a picture once or a video once, and people were like, oh, animal cruelty. And I'm like, he's playing. Give it up. You don't know. But anyhow, Tian, I have some more questions for Robert, but Tian, I see the beautiful tank behind you. I'm assuming you use char chambers?
I do. Actually, I have char chambers in all my baby tanks downstairs. I have char in the I have the charcoal in the sump up here, but I will explain briefly about one of the char chambers that I done as an experiment. It was kind of a fun thing to do. I started a rotifer bucket. Actually, it was a kitty litter bucket that I rinsed out and used, and I started a rotifer culture in it. All I did was add the char chamber. I had 2 other cultures going at the same time. And so I measured I'm from the South, so we don't measure anything. But for game's sake, I measured
Right?
yeah,
Sorry.
I measured the green, the rotifer diet that I added to the buckets. I did that for about the first 2.5 weeks. After that, I was like, yeah, I ain't measuring anymore. So by putting the char chamber in the rotifer bucket on day 1, I have never added any prime or ammonia binder at all. I have never done a water change on it. When I sieve out the rotifers, and I didn't know that I was doing it wrong, but when I sieve out the rotifers, the water runs back into the bucket. So I haven't put fresh water in. And the first 2.5 weeks that I measured the green, it did not take any more green for that bucket than it did the other 2 buckets that does not have a rotifer, have a RKC chamber in it. So as of now, today is Wednesday. As of Monday, that bucket has been running 11 weeks with no water changes, no prime added, no ammonia binder at all, and it's just kicking. It is full of rotifers. I do sieve out rotifers and feed the babies or the pairs, or the pods or the brine, and I do sieve out of that bucket, but like I said, the water runs right back in. And so I've not done a water change on that bucket. So that stands as a testament as to what the RKC char chamber has done just for the rotifer bucket, let alone the fry tank. I can put a RKC char chamber in there on, day 4, 5, 6, somewhere through there. Never do a water change after that.
That is so amazing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It keeps the ammonia at 0. The fish grow like crazy. And you could not do that without an RKC char chamber in there.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Hey, Robert, I'm going to start asking questions from the comments, and then I'm going to let Holly and Cheryl in to chat with us some more. But Robert, can you tell us just a little bit about how intense the feeding is with clownfish fry? Because the seahorse keepers know how intense feeding seahorse fry is, but how often and how much do you feed your fry?
Well, of course, the smaller the babies, the more they need to eat. Now, when they're first born, it's basically one big soup of rotifer culture and larval clownfish culture. It's called co-culturing. So how fast a rotifer bucket can get real slimy and polluted. Well, that's how fast the larval clownfish tank can go south as well. But with the char chamber, that just doesn't happen. After the rotifers, I start feeding TDO-A. TDO, by the way, is the best food money can buy, if you ask me. And
Shout out to Chad Clayton, Reef Nutrition. Go ahead, sir.
Absolutely. So I probably feed TDO-A 6 to 8 times a day. Now they require a lot of food when they're babies. They need to eat all the time, like all babies.
Yep.
They eat a lot, and especially with grow out. I do dense feedings, and I also, as some of you know, I've had my temperature up to like almost 87 degrees. That was by accident. But those fish grew faster than any other fish. I didn't calibrate my heater when I put it in there, and next thing you know, it's 87 degrees. But I try to keep them about 84 degrees with a lot of food. So that, as you know, can go south real fast with the temperature and the dense feedings. But with the char chamber, it just doesn't go bad. It's amazing. I don't even clean the bottom of the tanks anymore. It's just incredible.
I was going to say, you guys, first of all, public announcement, everybody pay attention real quick. He's talking about baby clownfish with baby seahorses. We want to definitely keep the temperature lower than 84, 74 even, lower than 74. The feeding equivalent is the same. I mean, even though we're feeding Artemia and then, mysis shrimp, it's still a lot of feedings. And you guys should go check out the last live stream in which he did mention that he'd be on this show, Seahorse Whisperer, one Wednesday, because I checked it out and it was a great live stream. I watched the whole thing, and he talked all about the char chambers and clownfish breeding and showed the bottoms of his tanks. Unfortunately, in this stream, he's not able to flip the camera, so go check that one out if you want to see how clean his tanks have stayed. However, public announcement warning, I'm not suggesting anyone breeding seahorses not do a water change, or at least test your ammonia, constantly. I will play with it. If Kevin really sends me to Char Chambers, you better believe I'm going to play with it and let you guys know. And once I can sign off on it, which I believe these guys in the clownfish tanks, but I'm just saying, don't go do it and then say, hey, they told me on Wednesday, please. But
Yes.
Seahorse Corner wanted to know too, is there a weight on the sponge at the bottom? Is it removable? You can read it. Or do you have to worry about the weight breaking down? I always pop the bottom weight off my sponge filters. I heard they break down.
I personally have never had the bottom of the sponge filter break down. I buy my sponge filters in bulk, and they all seem to be really, really good. I've had some of these for years and years, and the weight never broke down. I'm not sure exactly what kind of sponge filter they're talking about. It is removable, but your char chamber will be floating at the surface if you take it off.
Yep. I have that, and actually, Seahorse Corner is very inventive, and so we might see some, extensions of the char chamber if she gets one, because we're really big in seahorse world here about using the like in my K1 reactor that I made out of a 1 liter bottle. I poked 2 holes in the side, which you couldn't do that with that type of char chamber, but used the suction cups to stick it to the wall. So maybe we'll see that in the future. You never know. And I think this one's kind of for Brian or any of you. Tian, I see a question for you too. I'm gonna ask every question, guys. I promise. Holly and Cheryl, I'm letting you in like 5 minutes. How often do you have to change the AquaChar in your system? Oh, Brian, you're muted.
No, Brian. Can't hear you, Brian.
Amateur hour.
There you go.
It's my Wednesday.
The answer I usually give people, and it really depends on the size of the tank and the bioload and everything like that. But I say add new to the existing every 3 to 6 months. In a lot of larger systems, because like for a 100-gallon tank, it's only like 2 cups. So if you're running a sump or something big with the extra in there, and you have a huge bioload with huge fish and everything like that, then what I say is usually you'll add new every 3 to 6 plus months. I know plenty of people that we have customers from before we even launched 3 years ago. She's actually a marine biologist, and she runs her original stuff in her system. So she's added new to the existing every, actually she runs about every 9 months to a year. She'll add new just to kind of get the freshen up and everything like that. But once a month, if they're running it in the bag, like a bio brick, during the water change, you pull it out, just shake it off in a bucket and put it back in there. Just get some of the larger organics that get trapped on there, and kind of disturbs the biofilm. So it'll kind of go towards what you need to, what you're currently going to deal with versus what it's been dealing with. But yeah, from that standpoint, that's one of the unique things about the actual specific char chamber that Robert makes and sells, is the fact that he's kind of gone through the iterations and figured out how to make it almost like a self-cleaning filter. He's got the chemical, biological, and mechanical. So if you think about your canister filter, after about a month of running it, if you don't clean that monthly, it starts building up and it becomes almost a septic. It becomes a septic zone. So that becomes an issue in your system. That's why you get a lot of nitrate spikes and stuff like that. Robert can testify to his nitrates. He hasn't seen a spike with his heavy feeding, growing, tank with 150 baby clownfish in it.
Right.
So it's almost like you're getting that whole functionality in a small system, and what Roberts specifically makes. you're getting a whole lot of functionality of a big, $120 canister filter in something that's driven off of air. So it also oxygenates your water and everything like that. So if you're breeding something or you planning to breeding, you get that water quality safe and you get the biological side of it balanced. And it really is helpful. Or Robert has really noticed that. Again, I tell people with water changes, do what you want to do. And what works for you, as long as you're testing it and taking care of your pets, don't neglect your pets is what I say. And Robert tests his parameters on
well, yeah, he's got the safe thing. Yeah.
So he tests all of his parameters on his live streams and everything like that. So he's not saying anything specifically that is unique.
No, absolutely. In my I'm going to leave his clowns up because they're so cool, and the char chamber so cool. And you guys, I'm envisioning a char chamber in my 65 gallon with the sump with the larger seahorses. I'm envisioning a char chamber the size of my skimmer. We do overrated skimmers with seahorses. And the thing that I think that is so cool that I really wanted the seahorse community to learn about these is because with seahorses, even after they grow up and they're adults, they still eat more than regular fish. So having this kind of filtration that will actually, work for, heavily eating fish is amazing. And in my 40 gallon all-in-one with the 3 seahorses, I literally was putting the AquaChar in the new nets by AquaChar. Sorry, Brian. Robert done found something better, but I was putting it in these new netted bags and putting it in my sock. So in the all-in-one, the water flows through the. Sorry, I'll make you small now that it's your face, wonderful face. But in the all-in-one, it's just got the 2 corner slots where the water comes down, and in one side there's a slot, and I was throwing it in there. But what they were discussing is true. Like, it would get gunked up so badly. And this char chamber, it really is game changing. And Seahorse Corner, do things break down in saltwater? Is that a wives' tale? Sorry, wine. I would say always be cautious because us with seahorses, rust. If anything has anything metal in it, and some of those cheaper sponge filters do, but I'm guessing that Robert's don't. So he hasn't had any problems. Okay, if I'm cutting anybody off. Go ahead, Tian.
I will say this right quick. I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but because of the magnitude of the char chamber and how well it's doing, there is a patent pending on it.
Don't go making any, y'all. Come on. let's give Robert King.
Make it for yourself. Don't sell them.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, but let's give credit where credit's due. He came up with it. Listen, I was trying to come up with something too, but I'm right here to tell you I'm all about Robert King's clownfish, char chambers. Anyhow, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Where can I get some beautiful seahorses to put in my new system?
Okay, well, we still have questions in the comments, but really quick, I'm going to let Holly and Cheryl in. Guys, just let's remember not to talk over each other like I always do, but they can help with the answering these.
Guys, I have several questions just listening to this because I started using K1 media back 2011 and 2012. This sounds like it has a similar efficacy, but it's much more.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong. But Cheryl, real quick, let's answer his question, and then let's get your questions and the comment questions. But as to my suggestion for getting seahorses, I'm still waiting on my seahorses to give me some fries, so I'm not the answer. I think Holly and Cheryl are both in that waiting position too. The places that I would recommend are Ocean Rider. One of my pairs from Ocean Rider. They're wonderful. And Alyssa's Seahorse Savvy. Unfortunately, Seahorse Source, which was the best place in town, is no longer in business. Dan still comes and shares with us. But those are the 2 places I would recommend. Alyssa is fantastic, and so is, gosh, Cheryl, I can't remember Ocean Rider. What's the woman's name? I can't remember.
Carol?
Carol, yes. They are fantastic. So those are anybody else have a recommendation for seahorses? Holly or Cheryl? Those are the 2
that I would know by.
Unless you find a local breeder.
Know someone.
Yes.
Yeah, unless you
like
know someone privately.
Like
Yeah.
I've bought Holly's seahorses. I still have Aphrodite in my tank. They're wonderful. But she was a friend. You know what I'm saying? So if you're part of a local reef club, ask if anyone's breeding. Otherwise, those are the two main people that I would recommend. Cheryl, I know you have questions, but Shelly asked, do you recommend removing the char chamber while medicating?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, if any medication requires you to remove any carbon, remove the char chamber until you're done medicating, and then you put it back in when you're all done,
Yeah.
and you should be fine. With the char chamber, that the first thing I thought of when I started using the char chamber and saw what it can do, first thing I thought was, man, I would really love to do seahorses again. All right, that's all for me.
Okay, when
No,
you're doing
no.
that, would you recommend if you pull out the char chamber briefly, if you're medicating, and move it to a different tank so it does not lose any of its biofiltration?
If you
Brian,
have
you're
that,
muted.
you're
Brian, you're
able to do
muted.
Yeah.
Unmute. Listen,
Yeah,
he's not even drinking real wine. What the heck? Go
I
ahead,
know.
Brian.
I've got that sparkle. It must be the sugar in it. So I don't really eat sugar that much.
So what were you gonna say?
Anyways,
Oh, no.
So with the medication, yeah, the cool thing, especially about the char chamber, even if you keep it in a bag, that's the reason we recommend the bags. Is you can even put it in a 5-gallon bucket and keep that biological going. You can move it to a different tank and everything like that if you're medicating. So it doesn't. You can easily keep it running if you have to pull it out of the tank just on bucket, and some salt water running.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The other-
And real quick,
but
Cheryl,
yeah,
I know you. Sorry. Go, Brian. Oh, he keeps freezing.
He just-
I also recommend that if you are going to remove medication, just to use some cheap activated carbon and don't use your char chamber specifically to do it, just because the bacteria will film a biofilm over those chemicals and everything, and they will break down and have a half-life and everything like that. But it's just why mess with something if there's a cheap solution? It doesn't take a lot for a lot of these systems just to run it for 3 days or a couple of days and toss it.
Absolutely, because AquaChar is doing both. It's not just removing; it's also acting as the bio media. Real quick question though, kind of along with what Cheryl was saying, if you couldn't put it in a bucket, say you only have one tank, you got to medicate, and you're not setting up a bucket because you're in some small apartment, whatever reason, is like with the K1 media.
Go to Lowe's, get a bucket.
I'm trying to help anybody out there who doesn't want to set up a bucket,
Your
Cheryl.
empty salt bucket.
Okay, stop it, girls. What I was going to ask is if you pull the char chamber out or AquaChar in general out and it does dry, like with K1 media, I was very fearful because it stopped tumbling that it was like going to get gunked up and like cause a real problem when I added it back to the system. The K1 did not. Is there any fear of that, Brian?
Yeah.
Or yes, okay, because it absorbs.
There isn't any fear of it. We actually do have a regeneration process that you can use with hydrogen peroxide and air drying. It is part of the process. You get about 65% regeneration. It's more about reestablishing your biomedia side of everything. So what we recommend is just find what works for you in your system. There's nothing like that fresh AquaChar, clarity. My fish are flying clarity. So that's why we recommend, when you need it, if you're used to activated carbon schedule and that's part of your budget, that's part of what you like to do, and you like that look of your water, that's the 3 to 6 month time span.
Absolutely. And Tian, I actually, McKenna, we will come back to the question that I just posted. I will come back, but I forgot to ask Tian the question from Al. But really quick, for full disclosure, guys, I've been using AquaChar since I met Brian. What has it been, a year-ish?
It's probably been a year almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did the live stream.
And I will link in the description when we're done the interview with Brian. We had a little internet difficulties, but the information is still fantastic. And the website explains all this stuff. And I've been using AquaChar since then. As he describes, I use the net bags that are on the website. And I also stuff it in that internal chamber, but it's not going to work as good as a char chamber, which I will be using soon, and I will get back to you guys with my review. But yeah, all I do is I usually honestly forget, but when I change the socks, maybe every second or third time I change the sock, I will, shake it out in some dirty water and be good. But okay, Tian, how often do you water change rotifers that don't have AquaChar?
I will usually clean that bucket out anywhere from every 7 to 10 days. And so by having the RKC char chamber in the one bucket, which I was doing just for a test, because we wanted to see if it pulled the rotifers out, what it done. And so I went all out with it, started using kitty litter bucket of all things. I started out with it, no prime, no ammonia binder at all added from day one. And I have yet to this day, Monday was 11 weeks. So I have yet to do a water change on that one single bucket. But the ones that do not have the char chamber in it, every 7 to 10 days, I will do 100% water change.
Wait, now I have a quick question about that too, because 100% water, I hate cultures. I admit it, you guys. I'm literally a seahorse small time breeder, and I absolutely despise cultures. Okay. So in your culture though, I know with clownfish breeding and any breeding, you got to get used to it. Oh, look at Robert's showing us his culture. Nice. So what do you mean by 100% water change? How do you do that? Real quick.
What I will do is I will take another bucket, and I'll put a egg crate, a plastic egg crate over it. And I will take the bucket that I'm going to change. I set my sieve on that egg crate. And then I'll slowly pour my bucket that, it's got the nappy looking stuff in it, because you don't want to stir it up. Slowly pour it through my sieve, and then it goes into this other bucket. So I will sieve out all of the rotifers, and then I'll clean that bucket out real quick, and I will fill it back up with water, and I run my rotifers about 1.018, and rinse my sieve out in there, add a little green, and drop that airline in. And so because you have to do 100% water change if you don't have an RKC chamber in there, because of the what is it, Robert, hydrogen sulfide that builds up on the bottom and collects, and all the green slime and gunk. So you have to do a water change. Your culture's going to crash, if you don't do 100% water change. And I can run it about 10 days, and then it's time.
Yep. Cheryl's laughing. She knows. Hey, really quickly, the next question.
The reason I'm laughing, just a second, is because I've been there with the rotifers when I was working with hippocampus engines, which grow over 12 inches, but they produce fry that are smaller than an eyelash.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And what I ended up doing is buying these large 5-gallon containers that a spigot on the bottom. And I could just run them through to another bucket,
through a sieve,
through the sieve and into the other bucket, and get rid of all the gunk. And it was so much easier than trying to pour stuff. I just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah.
The answer to the next question from
big
McKenna.
Lemonade jar.
Sorry. The question from McKenna on the screen is there a recommendation for something holding the AquaChar if you don't have access to a char chamber? The answer is no. There's nothing else. You need a char chamber. Just kidding. But it will be the best option, and I will show you guys what I was talking about earlier. This is the little internal. That's what the little sponge that's in the internal filter, I stuffed with AquaChar, but it's not enough. So that's why I'm recommending the char chamber before I even get one, because I just think it's a fantastic idea, and I know how I've done with K1. Okay, let's see. Cheryl, did you have another question for them?
I actually have 2 more questions, and then I'll be quiet. My next question is, I'm assuming when you're talking about the amount of AquaChar you're using, you're including both the water volume in the sump and the tanks or nursery tubs that you're using. In other words, the total system water volume rather than just the tank volume. Okay, that's what I figured. And also, I'm looking at this. this appears to be primarily an aerobic metabolism for the AquaChar. Am I correct on that?
Well,
Yes.
there's an
Right.
so
Yeah. Go ahead.
so with AquaChar, what some of the papers with related stuff has come out with is there is an oxidation reduction zone because of that, because of the electrostatic surface, because of the carbon. The larger size allows for that the aerobic breakdown to happen on the surface, but because we have that electrostatic charge in the larger chunk size of AquaChar, that allows organics that are being sucked through to pancake out and be pulled inside and have an aerobic breakdown, be the digesters.
So it's
Absolutely.
actually it has both aerobic and anaerobic.
Yeah,
character.
and I know you were talking about the other media, the tumbling media. I can't. It's drawing a blank right now.
K1.
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 So that the tumbling media, that's more of working for the aerobic balance and everything like that. That's why it tumbles and everything like that. So what we're doing with the bubbles with AquaChar, or so what he's doing with the AquaChar chambers is he's figured out the chambers to be, and you have to remember he's breeding clownfish where he's breeding multiple times a day, and just there's a lot of organic breakdown that has to come in that system. So when he's giving the sizes for these char chambers, he's talking about a very heavy system and everything like that. But yeah, so when it compares to that media, what we're doing is we're more of a static media, but we're still producing that oxidation reduction zone because we're a carbon-based biomedia that has that electrostatic surface.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Hey, and actually, for the record, I
They're
use.
designed though for a high bio load.
Hang on, Holly. Wait. I need you to repeat that because I was talking and I couldn't hear you. I'm so sorry I talked over you. But I want to say that in my tanks, skimmers always, Seahorse tanks, I use AquaChar and K1. I use them for different reasons. And in other tanks, I only use the AquaChar, and I'm going to try the Char Chambers because the K1's really awesome, but the thing is with the AquaChar, it's doing multiple things. It's like you just described. It's also soaking up anything bad. And go ahead, Holly, go.
Yeah, so the char chambers you've designed for a high bio load, sounds like.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. And I want to put what Seahorse Corner was talking about earlier is there's concern with some of the sponge filters, it looks like it has a ceramic base. They're black and shiny. I've gotten some, off Amazon, but underneath they're metal, so they'll corrode sometimes in the salt water. So have you found a good source for your sponge filters to where that's not going to happen with the base? Is that?
Yes, my sponge filters don't have metal on the bottom. They are completely encapsulated in the plastic.
Excellent.
I've never had an issue with any of them. I could probably show you, maybe. Let's see.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I'm the one that talked with Holly about that because she was running some sponge filters.
Yeah, because I have them. They look shiny and black, but Cheryl said be careful because sometimes that wears off, and underneath you've got
rust.
Metal.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no way there's metal. Yeah. No.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm distracted by Brian guzzling the fake wine. But
I know, right?
Okay.
And I've been using the AquaChar now like Kelly for a year, and I didn't honestly. I haven't rinsed it. I haven't done anything with it. I put it in media bags in my sumps. And I have a 55-gallon and a 75-gallon. And I just put like about a cup or whatever it said in the directions in there. And I read that you're supposed to add to it now and then. I haven't, honestly. I kind of forgot about it. But my nitrates are close to zero. Now, they weren't before. My phosphates are close to zero. And I hadn't even thought about why. Until just tonight, what you said it does. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably because I put the AquaChar in. And I just kind of it in and forgot about it. So I think it's working. I need to add more to it. Like you said, it would probably help if I rinsed it out once a month, but I think it's doing its job in spite of me.
Well, so
I'll program you into my cell phone and call you and remind you every month.
Well,
Yeah.
I know Brian is trying to respond, but
there.
Brian is trying to respond, and I'm going to let him, but I would just say us seahorse keepers just, have so few things to worry about. How could you ever forget? My goodness. Brian, what do you say?
So much to take care of, but I just kind of threw it in there and forgot it. But it's got to be working because my parameters are better than they've been ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things. So if you can go on our website, you can actually see, I have a letter from a bacteriologist from Holland, and he kind of explains, I just met with him in November. He was in Florida, and I met with him down in Daytona because we're working on some projects together. And one of the cool things that he found, he did 9-month testing with the university, and he wanted to figure out whether AquaChar was a biomedia, whereas it's bringing in the food, or if it was, it was attracting the food, or if it was a carbon source. So what he did was, for 3 months, he had a consistent feeding and consistent schedule. Then he stopped it. It's on the Science of AquaChar tab. Yeah,
I'm on science. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
just going down slowly. Keep talking.
Yeah. So what we found was that with the sorry, 1 second.
No, I know this is distracting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here's the laboratory case study. I was looking at the screen so I could kind of show everyone what they're looking at. Scroll down a little bit more, and you can see the picture of his letter. Yeah, right over here. Anyways, no, scroll up a little bit. This picture on the side.
Gotcha.
There you go. Yeah. So first thing was, and then he had no food for a little while. But if you look, like, he quadrupled his initial dose based on the feeding amount. So he found that the bacteria actually adjust on AquaChar, adjusts to the level of the amount of food that it does. Then when you see it went down a little bit. It's like it continued to go down as he stopped feeding. So the bacteria, he said, starts cannibalizing each other. So the bacteria level would go down on the surface of AquaChar. Then he started feeding again, and it kind of stabilized based on because it was older and everything like that. That's why we kind of give you the 3 to 6 month time frame if you need to add new, because we want to give people the option. If you feel like you haven't been consistent and everything like that, then that's where you can come in with the biological imbalance, even with AquaChar. So then when he added new bacteria, you can also see that it stayed up at that 3 to 4 times his initial dose volume with consistent feeding.
Gotcha.
So the bacteria load on AquaChar will actually adjust to the heavy feeding and stuff like that, even with a smaller tank. So that's why a lot of people see that long-term use. I forgot about it, but my tank's been running really well.
It can work in multiple ways depending on how you're trying to use it. Absolutely. And McKenna, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but I think this one's for Robert. Are there restrictions on where you can ship the Char Chamber with AquaChar? Because the Char Chamber comes filled with AquaChar, correct?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I'm feeling a little blue now, but it does come.
Love it.
It does come full of. It does come full of AquaChar. I have shipped to South Africa. I am shipping to Australia this week. I have shipped to Canada. I can ship them anywhere, pretty much. If anyone wants to, pay the shipping, the shipping is a little more costly. Right. It was only $26 to South Africa. That's not so bad.
No, in Australia, we talk all the time, when it comes to seahorses, especially, or like Australia can't have anything live come in. So totally cool. I'm so amazed at this product and at the Char Chamber because, we're so used to bottled bacteria, having to cycle endlessly. Man, I can't wait to try the Char Chamber. If I can keep fry alive in the Char Chamber with no water, I'll still do water changes, but with no cycling, that's going to be amazing. And Spunk Jr., I see you're proving the Char Chamber works using the same Rotifer's kitty litter bucket and RKC chamber Week 3, no water changes. Love it. Okay, go ahead, Holly.
I have a quick question that just popped into my mind then. So if you want to use an aqua chamber as a biofilter, can you cycle it with ammonia just like you would your like your K1 media or anything else? Like if I bought an aqua chamber and I just wanted to get it ready to throw in
Char Chamber. Sorry.
yeah, the
Char Chamber.
Char Chamber. So
Basically, the AquaChar is biomedia on steroids.
Like, yeah, like can I start it like a K1 media reactor, like put it like in a bucket and do the ammonia cycling and then add it to something? Can you
Actually,
do that?
that's a fantastic question for either Robert or Brian or Tian, you know everything too, but I'm thinking it wouldn't work the same way because of the I don't know what you would call it, the suction of the AquaChar, like the charcoal end of the AquaChar. It wouldn't work right. I mean, I could see using bacteria to cycle it, but to cycle it with ammonia, would it still work the same way?
I honestly, organic breakdown is the best way to do it. So a little bit of fish food would work just as well versus doing the liquid ammonia. That way, it can kind of again, like I said, if you're going to dose it and you're consistent with the feeding versus just that one-time feeding and let the nutrients spike up and go through the cycle. If you're consistent, like a little bit, you know, each day. I mean, you're gonna, especially if you're trying to like cycle it in a bucket or something like that.
Yeah.
You can start cycling it in a bucket that way, where you pour the bacteria in there, and then you consistently just. I mean, it doesn't. You're feeding like something you can't see, so it doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little bit each time, you know. And yes, you can jump start it that way as well. But in the system, it works perfectly fine if you have a system that you're planning on putting it in and stuff like.
Oh, he froze. So wait.
The
Holly,
initial reaction from AquaChar, that electrostatic reaction of AquaChar,
and you don't
Holly. Hang on just a second. Brian, finish what you were saying. Holly, I promise you're next. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So if you want, you're losing some of that initial electrostatic reaction, which does have the ammonia binding differences. It's not necessarily. It's complicated, but it takes care of some of that ammonia stuff as it builds up in your water through the organic breakdown process. So Holly, that's why I personally recommend cycling, not with just chemicals, but have it be a organic buildup in your system, so you have consistency. It doesn't, you know, and you can build that bacteria diversity based on what you're going to be feeding normally.
And what I'll say before, I know, Holly, you want to talk, I'm sorry. But what I'll say is, Kevin, if you seriously send me 2 char chambers, I will do this testing live. We'll do an ammonia cycle with the char chamber, and we'll do one in a brand new fry tank with nothing else. I promise. But Holly, what were you going to ask or say?
Wait, hold on 1 minute, Kelly.
No, I was wondering because it would be like, you know, you put it into a system, you know, that's already established, you know, but, you know, what if you like, you know, like we were talking about the K1 media, you know,
you have to cycle it, but
like cycle it, you know, in a bucket. What if I don't want the char chamber to touch the tanks I already have established? I want to start something whole new.
Yeah, but Holly, that's the whole point. Both, and again, we're not recommending anything here. We're just giving the proof that Robert and Tian have both used a fresh char chamber without cycling in fry tanks and in rotifer cultures and had no ammonia. So
it's
we
just
don't know how it's working.
Pretty much. You just throw
we don't know how it's working.
It's good to go.
Yep. Isn't that right, Tian?
Yeah.
Correct. I started the rotifer bucket I opened the box that Robert had sent me with the char chamber in it. I opened it, and he'd already rinsed the charcoal out, and I was like, here we go. and it went straight in there. So it was not cycled. I never added ammonia binder ever to that bucket, which is now a little over 11 weeks old. And
Awesome.
if you have ever had a rotifer bucket that goes 2 weeks without crashing, can you imagine what the stench would be? You know, but with the one with the bucket with the RKC chamber in it, it does not have a smell. It does not have a smell. It's not crashed, and I have a feeling it's not gonna crash. I said, hey, I'm just gonna let it go, see how long it goes. Well, we're a little about 11 and a half weeks in, and we're still going.
You know what?
Nice.
One thing that we do worry about, just focusing on the rotifers, because I want to hear from you again, Robert, more about the fry. But Tian, on the rotifers, like for seahorse keepers, when we do Artemia, we've discovered that that's one of the hugest things that goes wrong. If you're not cleaning the hatchery, we're actually going to have Ask Seahorse Source Part 3 very soon, where he's going to cover using peroxide and all that stuff. It's interesting to me that AquaChar, its regeneration is peroxide, but Tian, with rotifers for clowns, does it matter if it's, or is it's keeping it not dirty, right? Because like in Robert's fry tanks, the bottom's clean. So
Correct.
It's actually literally pulling everything bad into it and using it for good.
Correct.
Right?
That is correct. When I save the rotifers out, I do not rent, you know, like, because I have an amphipods tank down there. I have up here, I've got brine shrimp that I'm raising up. I'm growing Fido, you name it. I've got 4 different kinds of pods growing. And so when I save, for instance, when I save rotifers out, I just take the sieve, say this is my sieve. I just take the sieve and dip it up, and here's the bucket, and the water runs back in there.
Yeah.
And so, little did I know that you wasn't really supposed to be doing that. You was supposed to take the water out and then put some fresh water in, sieve those rotifers out. No, I didn't do that. I was like, man, I'm really putting it to the test. And so what I do is I will sieve the rotifers out. I do not rinse them or nothing. I just sieve them out over the bucket, and then I directly dump them into my tank. I feed my babies. I feed the juveniles. I feed the pairs. I have kind of figured out, or it's been stated before, that if you feed the pairs kind of close to lights out, it kind of gives them an idea that, they've got food for their young. And so since I have 3 buckets of rotifers going, I do, feed rotifers out to everything. And I just sieve them out and put them right in. I do not rinse or anything else.
Well, for seahorse keepers, we do rinse, but I'm still thinking I'm going to play with AquaChar in a hatchery too. Seriously, because I think it can make a huge difference. And Robert, I'm curious, you covered it in your live stream, which I will try to link when we're done because they need to go watch it. But why do you think this made such a difference on the bottoms of your tanks? Because Holly and I talk every week about we're getting this nasty algae on the sides. We're trying to figure out if it's lights, if it's nutrients. But you covered in your live stream that the char chamber, all of a sudden you weren't worried about the bottom of the tank anymore.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with a little bit of dust that won't come out of the char chamber. It creates those, I forget what Brian calls them, microcytes.
Microcytes.
Yeah, thank you. That will eat it'll eat the waste that's on the bottom of the tank. And there's less waste because of the sponge filter and the AquaChar. That reduces the waste by a lot. Now, on my larval tanks, I was doing a gallon water change a day, every day. And I was adding ammonia binder, and I still couldn't keep the ammonia from spiking and losing clownfish. Now, I started out, let it be known, I started out with with water quality that isn't the greatest. I have high nitrates because of the dense feedings. My broodstock pairs are in my grow out. I just don't have the room for any other way, but my nitrates are high to start, and the way I collect my larvae, I don't use new water and pull the pod out. I collect the larvae right from parent tank as they hatch. So I'm starting out with really poor quality water, to be honest with you. And I was losing a lot of babies. I knew that was most of the reason was the quality of the water. But then when I added that char chamber, there was no more water changes. I just didn't do water changes anymore. I didn't have to. The fish are doing so well, and I'm not going to mess with it. If it works, don't fix it. And they're doing great.
Absolutely. And I'm already an AquaChar believer, but I can't wait to test the Char Chamber. I can't wait. I am officially going to say we've kept, first I want to say thank you so much to Brian, Robert, and Tian for coming and joining us this week. We're pushing on the hour and a half mark. I'm going to let it keep going for a while longer, but it's now open chat. So if you have any seahorse questions, clownfish questions, any questions at all, Char Chamber questions, now's the time, because we can't go too much longer these Wine Wednesdays. We could go all night. I know.
Real
yes, sir.
Is if you use pure ammonia to cycle a tank, and you have K1 media in the system, and you go to run your tests, your ammonia will come out blue.
Right.
Totally messes up any test kits.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm going, like I said, I'll use one char chamber to test, like cycling it separate, see what happens, just let you guys know what happens. And one I'm going to use either in the fry tank, or if I don't have fry yet, we'll replace everything in the all-in-one and see how that goes. I had a question for Tian. Now I can't remember it. Dang it. Wine.
I'm excited to see the results of that. I really am. I'm excited to see the results of that, and I would be happy for you to share it with us.
Yeah, so,
absolutely. Go ahead, Brian.
So if I could just say something real quick, what's been really cool about this experience for me is, when I first met Robert, he was going through his issues with his, losing whole batches. And if you've ever met Robert and as you talk to him, he literally loves every single baby that he gets. So like he sees a couple babies on the bottom and, he's upset with them. Like he forgot a heater and lost like a half a dozen out of 150. And, he was upset for a couple of days about it. So like, he's a very passionate hobbyist and he truly cares. I mean, he's got a 30-year-old pair of breeding clownfish that so he had a specific issue with the ammonia. He had pinpointed down and came across AquaChar at the right time. And he has spent a lot of time with these char chambers developing what he's working on the patent for, to make sure that it's basically like you have the surface area of your canister filter, but it's a self-cleaning filter in your system. So, he's using these in standalone systems without any other thing other than an air-driven pump, which I think is really cool from the hobby standpoint for just the breeding aspect of that. So because he had the issues, Tian wasn't an expert on rotifers and culturing rotifers. I don't think the standard practice is using a kitty litter bucket. But I remember after about, I think 6 or 8 weeks into it, she was doing a live stream.
Sounds like something I'd do. Wouldn't even
but
that's how I raised copepods.
Oh no, and I'm not bashing it. I do the same thing. I respect the hustle,
All they need is a container.
Hey, I don't like this skimmer. Let's take it apart and turn it into something else.
Yep.
Tian decided to try this rotifer bucket because she saw a benefit. She took it on herself to just take the bet on it. So we were actually talking on a live stream, I think like 6 or 8 weeks in, and I remember she was explaining what she does. She just sieves off the top and feeds all of her fish with what stays on the net, and explained the process. And somebody asked the questions like, how often do you top offs? And she's like, oh, I'm supposed to do top offs. So like I said, she wasn't an expert. It's more of the fact that we're able to, there's going to be deaths in any microorganism system. It's more about being able to get even in a kitty litter bucket, getting that microenvironment stable and being able to break down what the rot in your system is. It's basically having it being consumed versus before it turns yellowing in your water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
really quick,
I appreciate Robert and Tian.
Absolutely.
Go
ahead,
I'm
Brian. I'm
laughing because I get that, Mom.
I
you get to
appreciate
fish
Robert and
stuff out of
Tian
the
for what
kitchen
they've done.
sink.
They want to see them.
Absolutely. And I want to say really quickly, Andrea, actually, Robert, is the link correct? HTTPS zombieclownfish.com. Is that correct?
That is my webpage, but you can't buy off my webpage at this point. Not yet. I still need to do the shopping cart and get all that taken care of. But if you go to Robert King's Clownfish, you can message me on there at any time day or night.
You mean on Facebook?
That doesn't
On
mean,
Facebook.
yeah, on Facebook, yes.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I
I'll
won't
put
get back to you anytime, day or night, but you can message me anytime, day or night, and I'll get back to you as soon as I see the message. And you can, I can tell you how to order it. You just pay me through PayPal or Venmo or Messenger app, and give me your address, and we'll ship it out to you.
Tian, Big RCT wants to know if there's a video of you changing your rotifer water.
There actually is. There actually is. It is on Robert. I borrow his page all the time, and so there actually is a video of how I do 100% water change on the rotifers, and you will find it on Robert King's Clownfish page. I believe it's entitled Rotifer Change. So just scroll down through click on videos and scroll down through there, and you should be able to find it. If anyone has any trouble finding anything or figuring out, how to get a char chamber or anything, have any other questions that we don't cover here tonight, absolutely feel free to PM me or Robert at any time, and we'll do our best to answer it.
And Tian and Robert, I want to know more about the tribe. How do you join the tribe? And how did it start? And what goodies do people get for being part of it? Like valuable information, help. I know the answer, but please share the tribe.
Tian, do you want to take this one?
I can if you want.
Sure, go ahead. I'll chime in later.
I don't know. I've had a little more wine than you, so we'll see. Actually, Kelly, when you think about a tribe, that is a group of people that come together for one solid purpose, and they get along. And one thing that you will not find on Robert King's Clownfish page is anybody being degrading or cutting anyone down. Real brief, quick story. When I first started, I got a pair of fish, didn't know, squat about them. Bought them in their NIM. About 3 months later, they decided to lay eggs. So I got on clownfish groups, and fish groups, and said, I asked different questions, and I was told by this guy, he said, if you don't know any more than that about breeding or raising clownfish, you need to sell your stuff and take up knitting.
Tian, wait, I am gonna over talk and interrupt, because I will tell you, anyone out there that's interested in seahorses too, the same thing happened to me. I asked I won't name the place or the person, but I asked on an official website, hey, I've got seahorse fry. I need to know what I need to do to get them from the nursery tank stage to the rearing tank when they're weaned onto frozen. And he said, give up. You'll never do it. Don't even try. And now Holly, Cheryl, everybody else has proved that he was wrong. But go on, Tian. I'm sorry.
My first rule with dealing with a situation like that is to come up and say, we were all new once. We only because of other people that had been at it longer than us, they became our mentors. Were we able, and we listened to them, were we able to become successful?
True.
And I'm guessing that Tian is going to tell us about mentors in the tribe. Go ahead, Tian.
Correct. It was at that point that I was like, bawling my eyes out, because my feelings do get hurt really easily. And sell your stuff and take up knitting. Well, dude, I have not learned to knit, but I guarantee you one thing: I have learned to raise clownfish. And
Poke with it.
it was
I
one
love
of
to give
those.
myself a couple of knitting needles just in case to poke people.
It was one of those things like, hold my beer, I'm going to do this, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
And someone on that post, way down the post, after all the criticism, said, if you really want to know how to breed and raise clownfish, find Robert King. I was like, well, you know, what's
love
he going
it.
to tell me, you know? So I watch his videos for about 2-3 months, you know, and I was like, oh, man, you know, I tweaked stuff here a little bit. I still wasn't getting it. So I just hauled off and I messaged him one day. And I told my husband, I said, well, I messaged that guy and Robert King. And he was like, he's a big time breeder. He ain't got time to talk to you, you know. Well, about 30 minutes later, my phone dinged. And I was like, hey, he answered me. He answered me. And so that's how the saga started of Robert and Tian. And our friendship has grown greatly, you know, over the past few years. And we've seen each other through ups and downs. And as our tribe has, people that join, you will not see, you won't find the negativity like I found on other groups. When I ask a simple question, and as Robert says and has always said, the only stupid question is the one not asked.
Yes.
Love
Even
it.
if we say it 1,000 times over, that's okay because someone else is learning.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we never discourage anyone from trying. And you know, we support each other. You know, if one of us are down or one of us needs prayers or somebody's sick, these people jump on and they are, you know, they're sending out hugs and prayers and they'll go as far as to check on them outside of the lives. And
You
so
know what? This sounds like Wine Wednesday and Seahorse Sources group, but I
was
love
just
it.
saying, Dan and I have been friends since 2005.
Yep.
And I have been through a lot when he's had problems, and he's held me over the phone when I've been upset. We've
We
supported
become friends. We become family. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
he's like my brother.
that is exactly what you will find on Robert King's Clownfish. You won't find a group. You will find a family.
Exactly.
We
So-
are all connected.
I
Real
think
quick
it's
question,
because
though.
when when you value little lives, you value all lives.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So real quick question though, just to make it
Yes.
clear, because I went and tried to join the tribe, even though that I'm not a clownfish breeder, I still wanted to be part of the tribe because I love it. You said it's not a group. Is it just the Facebook page? Where is the tribe?
This is the tribe is what we call the Robert King's Clownfish.
Okay.
We are the tribe. Everyone on there is so helpful, so supportive, so kind, so loving. It is something that you do not see on a lot of groups ever. There you won't find negativity there.
So you mean on Facebook?
On Facebook, Robert King's
Okay.
Clownfish. And it's on Robert King's Clownfish. If you can PM from Robert King's Clownfish, is where you can get a hold of Robert Best, where you can inquire as to how to obtain a char chamber. Robert also has a YouTube page, and we're really working hard to try to get his subscribers up.
Oh, I'm getting ready to post it. Go
All
ahead.
right. So if everyone would go over there and get his subscribers up, that would just be awesome. And you guys are just absolutely wonderful. I appreciate you bringing us on here. I tried to talk to Robert, and I was like, you know, bud, you do it, you know. And he was like, no, you got to be there with me. So I feel like I'm a support human for Robert.
No, we needed you here. And the thing is, I found out after looking at the messages that you actually, I mean, I just think things happen for a reason. Good people are drawn to each other. And you actually won a Women in Reefing gift, right?
I
Or was it?
did.
Yes, at Macna. So we already knew each other. Okay, guys, real quick. Here is, and I will put the link in the description for certain, but here is Robert King's Clownfish on YouTube, just so you know what it looks like. Get over there and subscribe. Look, I haven't subscribed. I've got to.
Zombies.
I'm now subscribed. I want the bell so I know when he
Thank
goes
you.
live. Oh,
Just as Robert Spock posted on here that Robert King needed help to move a tank, people drove for hours just to help him. It's that kind of place. It is that kind of place. And look, Kelly, let me give you a real quick example of how good these people are. For instance, we will have drawings, and these people, I know, Robert, you're laughing now. These people, I've never seen anything like it in my life. They will donate something to go into the drawing, and then I'll be darned if they don't buy tickets to the drawing.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, you've not seen anything like, the tribe. You
well,
just gotta see the tribe.
now, Tian, to be fair, that's how we are on my Wednesday and Seahorse Sources group also. But I get your point.
Absolutely.
Yep. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'll put all these links in the description for certain.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so basically, because frankly, I'm just asking for my own page. I'm being selfish now. But so you follow, obviously you subscribe on YouTube. You follow the Facebook page, and then you ask questions in the community section. Is that the tribe? Like,
Just
how do people connect?
Just on the lives. Robert does a live most every day.
Gotcha. Okay.
Usually around 7 p.m. Eastern time. Generally, sometimes he's late. Well, no, don't let me lie. He's always late.
Listen, Robert. Anybody that comes to One Wednesday knows I'm always late too. It's
there you go.
But
But he does lives every day, and when we get a new person on there, that's just following the page, you will see everybody saying, "Welcome to the tribe, welcome to the tribe, glad you're here." They make them feel special. And that's what everyone does on Robert's page. There's no degrading there. No degrading at all.
so
Everybody's
even
welcome.
even if you're a
people,
seahorse lover and
you
you're not
don't-
breeding clownfish, we still want to be part of the tribe because it's a big family. Let's combine families.
You don't want to turn people off to the hobby. You want to help. I mean, I took 2 years working with seahorses when I first started out, before I was able to truly raise my first ones to adulthood. And I beat my head against the wall for 2 years. And I'm going back over 17 years. So that was back when the Chrysalis were still being used, except we were already changing that.
Yes.
Now I use round nursery tubs like the pros do. But it's one of those things where, on a much smaller scale, but it's one of those things where if I'd been beaten up by people and hadn't gotten help from people, I probably wouldn't still be at this.
Well, and I was going to say, Cheryl,
I came along and found Cheryl and Kelly and Dan and Ray and helped me through, my first batch of fry. And I was able to raise them because of these folks and all the time and, they spent learning themselves. It's a wonderful hobby that we share. The aquarium people that I've met, I don't have friends here physically where I live. I'm out in the boonies, but thanks to the internet, I've met so many people that I learned actually how to do this from.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
We still going to learn more.
Wait, hang on, guys. We're all talking. Wait. We're all talking at the same time. Tian first. Go.
And,
Sorry.
That's why I say, no, let's say pointing this way. Robert King, he has brought me so many friends. And a lot of people will say, why, you do so much, and and because I am a sidekick, and I try to help him out the best that I can, and try to take some of the load off of him because I know he's a busy man, and I do what I do because I thank Robert every day. I thank him for the friendships that he has brought me. I'm like you, I live out in the boonies, and the friendships that he's brought me, I've connected with people all over the world. And it is because of one common denominator, and that's Robert King. Had it not been for him, I would never have met all these people.
Mhm.
And these people are, let me just say, I talk to them more than I do my family, we're close contact, and we check on each other, and you kind of get the idea if someone's, kind of down, or COVID's hit them or something, and we all check on each other, and
It's so cool.
it
Yep.
is so cool. It is so
And,
cool.
and Cheryl, I know Cheryl and Holly both want to say something, but Cheryl, you missed, I think, maybe the beginning of this where, and on Robert's live, which I watched previously, he talked about how he didn't get it right at first. He was like you, Cheryl, he and Dan. He was the guy who, he was the guy who literally had to figure it all out, and now he's sharing his knowledge. Without people like you, none of us would succeed. Robert, you speak. Go ahead. Wait, hang on, Robert.
I just, it took me 2 years to raise my first larval clownfish. And the people that knew how to do it, which were few and far between, they weren't giving up any secrets. They were very tight-lipped about it. And I had to learn. I had a woman named Bridget Green from Australia who was my mentor. And she taught me what I needed to know. It took me about another year after what she told me, but I got it. And I don't want anyone else to have to go through 2 years of killing baby clownfish. You know what I mean? It's a passion of mine. I love to share my passion because it makes that passion worth so much more. And the tribe that we talk about, we have over 5,700 followers, and I could probably, if I see their name, I know who they are, and it's not,
Well, you just
it's not
got
me.
one more.
Thank you. It's not me.
Welcome to the tribe.
It's not me that makes the group.
Wait, guys, let Robert talk. Go ahead, Robert.
It's not me that makes this the best group on Facebook. Yeah. It's everybody combined, the combination of all of them.
And I wanted to apologize to everyone.
One sec.
Wait, no, Cheryl, you one sec. We talk over each other, and then you can't hear what any of us is saying. So if I sound like a big bee, I apologize. We're much nicer than that. I just want you to get all the information as we all try to talk. We all love this and the community and breeding and, just the saltwater world. So apologies if I keep telling people, you talk now. I'm not that bossy bee. But Cheryl.
I reached the point where I was having no success raising fry. And back then, there was very, very limited information.
Right.
And I finally decided I was going to get rid of my seahorses and get completely out of this, or I was going to figure it out. And I decided to get hard-headed. And my first real success, I had my youngsters in a 30-gallon tank. I don't use those anymore except for sumps. And we had an ice storm, and the neighbor's tree took down power. I was without power for over 13 hours. My fry tank, the first success, got down into the low 40s. I spent 3 days rewarming those fry, and I didn't lose any of them. That's when I crossed the line.
That's awesome. Hey, and one of the questions, Tian, I have to ask you about the eraser, but I want to say I've seen a couple comments about all the awesome giveaways on Robert King's Clownfish page. We're going to start doing them here too, so make sure you subscribe here too. But I was going to say, maybe we need a char chamber in the next giveaway here. But we'll talk about that later. Tian, what's the eraser?
The eraser. Well, when we do, this is how our tribe works. We do drawings, and they'll donate stuff that goes in, and then they'll buy tickets to hopefully win something. And then, okay, so and so donated, whatever. you know, and they want it. They want an item. Okay, I write their name down. You know, I keep the notes to all this.
You're the
And
secretary.
so he draws live. He does it live. Does the drawing live. Well, I'm over here, you know, taking notes down. Well, when someone wins something, they'll say spin again. They'll donate it back.
Yep.
And you know, I mean, that's just the tribe for you. You know, I mean, you know, you look up a definition of a tribe, that's Robert King's clownfish.
Okay, so what I do have to say is, Tian, I'm gonna need to hire you as my sidekick because you're amazing. Sorry, Robert.
I'm Nope.
I'm just kidding, but tribe, we welcome you here too. We don't always talk seahorse. We talk about macros and everything. And all of the seahorse community, we need to go and be a member of the tribe too. You know, it's all about these communities connecting, good people helping each other. Okay, it's open chat, guys, and I am gonna have to cut the live stream to do the after party in about 5 minutes. So Brian, Tian, Robert, and of course Holly and Cheryl, thank you so much for coming this week. Thank you for everyone in the audience. We get a little goofy at the end because the wine's flowing. But anybody else have anything that I haven't asked or need to ask? Yeah, Brian.
I just want to say something. I thought this was a really fun chat. This is two worlds. I know I think about a year ago, I did the interview with you and you saw the benefit of AquaChar and what you're doing. I met Robert and he's been doing it for about 6 months now. And he's been full in, you know, you've seen his live streams. He talks about his success. He does his testing live on air. He's got his tribe that's been really awesome and supportive of AquaChar. So it was really cool to see the similarities. You know, I was thinking about it, and I think that clownfish and seahorse, from a marine, you know, captive breeding standpoint, are probably two of the oldest, you know, and most sustainable areas of the hobby. You know, it's becoming more popular, but it's really cool to see the knowledge cross paths in this conversation and everything like that, because it's. Again, Robert's come up with a really unique way that I think that in niche markets, like in niche areas of the hobby, like what you guys are both in, or all of us are in, it's really cool to see the exchange of ideas. So I just want to thank you for bringing it together. This is why I reached out to you, Kelly, and said I think this would be a pretty fun chat for you.
Absolutely, and I want to invite Brian, Robert, and Tian back anytime. We usually get really boring in the seahorse talk, but that's what spices it up. We'd like, you know, it's cool to compare how breeding clownfish compares to breeding seahorses. And if you're going to start breeding seahorses again, Robert, soon, you need to be here. We welcome the link stays the same, so you're welcome back every single week, any week you want to come. Usually it's open chat, so we just talk about whatever's in the comments. And please go check out Robert King's Clownfish Facebook page, because his live streams are very good. He makes fun of himself about technical stuff, but hey, we know I'm late every week too, so you know, it's good. It's good stuff. Go ahead. Anybody wants to talk?
Just real quick one on.
And thank you, Brian, for creating and with your coworker. Oh wait, I'm sorry, Brian. I did have to ask. Does the Seahorse Whisperer code still work?
Huh?
For the discount.
I'd like to say one thing I have learned over the years of working in this hobby is somebody will have great success raising this or that, and then all of a sudden you start asking the questions. What did you change? What did you do differently? How have you grown? And it's just like the efficacy of using the K1 and now the AquaChar. We're continuing to improve, and it's not it's not a seahorse person that figured this one out, but it can benefit, and that's something that we have to accept in this hobby. And if we don't move forward and try new things, we're never going to get to where we need to be.
Absolutely. AquaChar, as Brian talked about earlier, AquaChar was about like literally helping these other places that don't have clean water get clean water. Exactly. It started that way, and now we're using it in the hobby. Absolutely. And Holly, you were trying to say something. Sorry.
I was just saying, well, we all have salt water in common. or even just aquariums. Like I have a freshwater too. So I'm guessing the AquaChar is probably good for freshwater also.
Oh, it should be.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say that.
I
just
know,
wanted to say that. Freshwater too. Yeah, absolutely. And there's one other thing I just wanted to say real quick, and then I'm done for the night. Is people will always say, do your research, and when people come on my page and they ask a question, that's a form of research. That's how they do the research.
Absolutely.
I'm fine with that. I hate when people say that. Do your research or take up knitting or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm asking the question. That's research.
Yeah.
We've talked on here multiple times about how Facebook can be because there's so many people, and like you said, if you don't find the tribe or Seahorse Whisperer or Wine Wednesday or Seahorse Sources group, if you don't find that on the first try, I say research. I know you hate that word, but research more by looking further. And I just wanted to say also, Big RCT said cheers to Brian and his co-partner for creating this product. We will do some more experimenting and talk more. And I hope that Tian and Robert and Brian come back to the show often. But Brian, what I was asking is, does the code still work? Seahorse Whisperer?
Yes, and Women in Reefing has been a code for a long time. So
there you
both
go.
the Seahorse Whisperer or Women in Reefing work, whichever is easier to remember or spell out.
I just got you in trouble. Okay. So if you go on the AquaChar website and you use any of the 3 codes we just mentioned, Women in Reefing, Seahorse Whisperer, or Robert. Is it Robert's Clownfish or Robert King's Clownfish?
Zombie Clownfish.
Zombie Clownfish. I'll put the links in the description, but those codes get you a discount. I'm already an AquaChar believer.
And there's many. Biggest discount.
Right?
Which
Don't try to get 30% off.
They're all 15%.
15%. But anyways, I'm just so thankful for you all for coming tonight, and I'm gonna be a member of the tribe from now on and learn more about clownfish breeding, and hopefully you guys will come back and join with us and chat on Wine Wednesday. It's usually just open chat, so you guys were our guest speakers tonight, but usually it's just we just chat about whatever is in the comment section or what we want to talk about. So we invite you back any week.
Is Dan next week?
I'm sorry?
Is Dan next week?
I have to, I don't think so. I have to check. I will announce when Dan's coming back for Ask Seahorse Source Part 3. Tian, what were you saying?
I just wanted to thank you very much for having us on here. Like you say, our worlds cross through saltwater. And what benefits us, it's possible it could benefit you guys too. So as long as we all work together, and just make it a good community and further the benefit of seahorses, clownfish, rotifers, brine shrimp, whatever it is that we're trying, macro, whatever it is that we're trying to do. A lot of those things cross between the 2 worlds of seahorse and clownfish. So I appreciate everything that you guys allowing us to come on here and talk about Robert King. I appreciate everyone if you would follow Robert King's YouTube page. Like I said, we're trying to get his numbers up there, and I appreciate that. Y'all come over and be a part of the tribe anytime. We'd love to have you there.
I feel like this big group hug. I wish I could do
it.
Cheers.
Robert, did you want to
cheers?
When you have people that are like-minded.
Cheers in a second. But Robert, was there anything else? Because you were my big time special guest, and I can't wait to try out the Char Chambers and see all of your new inventions that you'll create in the future. But anything else that I didn't ask that you wanted me to?
Just be careful. I'm real bad about building things, and I'll try a new model.
As Robert said earlier, you can make it for yourself, just don't sell it. But go ahead, Robert.
There you go. I just wanted to thank you so much for having me on here. I had a great time.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. And come check out my 30-year-old clownfish. They're still breeding, and that's 8 years past the record. The
Awesome.
record clownfish was 22 years old. That was still breeding. That was the previous record. My clownfish are 30 and they're still breeding. They just laid
They
a
live
huge clutch
If you keep
yesterday.
them healthy, they live a long time.
Well,
That's
Robert, you
amazing.
said
And-
you were in the hobby for 40 plus years, and I'm thinking you must have started when you were like 5 years old.
Well, thank you very much. I was 12 and I've been in the hobby 48 years. So that makes me 49.
Awesome.
I was gonna say,
Awesome.
if I get an extra number of likes on this video, maybe I'll have to invite Robert back and Tian back to talk about clownfish because it interests me. I had clownfish that acted like they were breeding, acted like they were laying eggs because they bit the SHR2 out of me at a certain point, and I just never knew what to do. So that's interesting to me. If you want to see them back here, like it, and let me know in the comments that you want to see them back here to talk about clownfish. Go ahead,
My
Rob.
favorite clowns that I
Are
inherited.
compassionate. I don't know if anybody
blood.
knew how compassionate they are. I actually had a pair of
Robert,
clownfish that were dying. I put them in a standalone tank by themselves, and the female laid over the next day, just laid over on the bottom. The male came over and pushed her up against the glass with his nose, and for 2 weeks he would take pellets from one side of the tank, and from his mouth to hers, he fed her and nursed her.
Oh
back
my
to health.
God.
Nobody sees that stuff. I pay attention and I see that kind of
Yes.
stuff happen. And that was just a game changer for me when I saw that. I said, wow, these fish are very compassionate.
Yes.
Well, it's like
See-
when I go to move one of my young seahorses into the grow out tank or something. It's not unusual. They'll wrap their tail around my finger. They'll hide their head in my hand and it's hunker down. They'll slowly start coming out and looking around at the new surroundings. And they'll sometimes be on my finger for 5 minutes or longer before they ever even decide to go check it out at all. And I mean, this is a fish.
Yeah.
Right. No, and I was going to say, actually, I feel like Robert King is the Dan of Seahorse world in clownfish world because he's figured it all out. He's sharing the information. He's providing a char chamber with AquaChar. Thank you, Brian and Robert, for providing this because I can't wait to play with it. And I mean, they're sharing this information that helps everyday hobbyists become breeders or keep the animal or the fish much healthier and better. And I just think it's amazing. I don't know what else to say. But thank you guys.
Kelly,
Thank you.
Francis just posted, female tiger tail is super eggy, and the male finally has a pouch.
Yep, Francis, I know you forgot to join tonight in open chat. I'm going to have to call it for the night, guys. We've kept Tian, Brian, and Robert so long, but we will be back next week with open chat. I will announce when Dan is going to do part 3 of Ask Seahorse Source. Everybody go join the tribe. And just, again, so thankful for you guys coming. I'm going to push you guys to come back and talk clownfish because we want to understand that too. Everything's up for chat on one Wednesday, but I am going to call it. And everybody go check out AquaChar too. I'm telling you, game changer. All right. Everybody
I'm always
do
looking for
your
new
cheers.
experiments.
Exactly.
Great
All
meeting
right.
you.
Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Well,
Cheers.
thank our
Cheers.
guests for some wonderful information and
Have a good one.
I'm cutting you off,
very,
Cheryl.
very
Sorry.
happy to have met you.